Man, that drill's a tail kicker. That's Dave Spalding's 15 and 15, and it's shot at 15, 10, and 5 yards, 5 shots from each position. Anyways, that's really not what this video is about. What this video is about is running with your firearm. There are 3 places that I've been to where they teach slightly different variations on how you're supposed to be running with your firearm, and with the exception of only one of those places, the instructors actually did as they taught. Like I said, I've been trained multiple different ways on how to run with a sidearm, and the people that are demonstrating are seldom ever actually doing the technique the way they're teaching the techniques. It ends up really being more of a mad scramble than anything else. And because I spend an inordinately large amount of time staring at video, when I go to a class, I video myself, I video the instructor, I video the students, and I spend a lot of time just analyzing video consciously and subconsciously, and I watch patterns. And the pattern that I've seen is the instructor may say, this is how we do this, but in reality, when it's their turn to run the drill, they end up doing it slightly different than what they're teaching. Some of the running techniques that I've been taught are this one, where you move like this, which, seriously, okay. It's the 1990s again. The other technique that I've been taught is you tuck the gun in tight and you run like this, so that the gun is always pointed away from you, pointed down, so it's not going to be muzzling anybody here. And then the other technique that I was taught is muzzle slightly up, weapon where you can see it, and just run with it. And you guys notice that's the technique that I was using. I find that this technique works the best. This technique allows me to get enough of this to move. You'll notice where my finger is, and you'll notice as I was shooting this drill, my finger, when I would finish shooting, my finger would end up here and I would begin to move. And the reason for that is, we've heard about the flinch effect. And the flinch effect is there's a loud bang. The flinch effect causes the human body to contract in on itself. And the argument, and it's a very valid argument, is that should you flinch and you have your finger on the side, that you could potentially pull the trigger. Well, what people don't understand, and I got this from Dave Spalding got it from Masad Ayub, and those are 2 men that teach handgun techniques at a scientific level. Not only do we sympathetically contract, we actually consolidate our fingers while contracting. So what that ends up looking like is, not only is it this, it's also the fingers wanting to come together. So even if you're disciplined and you're doing this, the chances of you consolidating your fingers in toward one another and then contracting are fairly high. You could accidentally pull the trigger, which is why if your hands are big enough, hook that index finger on top. By doing this, it is darn near impossible for my finger to come off and accidentally pull the trigger. I have to move efficiently. I mean, what else is there for me to do? I can't run like this because this steals the mechanics of running away from me. I can't run like this because this also steals the mechanics of running. It steals the mechanics of defending myself. And if someone should get a hold of, by the way guys, this technique is taught at some places, and every time I see it I think to myself, don't they understand all it takes is someone coming up behind you and going wham like that and clocking you with your own gun to the side of your head, and now your eyes are spinning. This technique makes the most sense to me. Gun is in front, I can see the gun, my sights are level with my shooting eye, so at a moment's notice I can stop, I can focus, I can take my shot, and then I can take off again. I'm in total control of this gun. I've got a death grip on this gun. And should I have to holster it, I can see the gun, and I can see where the gun needs to go quickly to go hands-on with something. This technique, after a lot of practice, I've come to the realization that while this technique is actually a modification of what I was taught, it actually is the smartest, because you guys have seen the 3-gun technique, which is this type of thing, right? You guys have seen this. Or when they run, right? It's always downrange. Well, if you fight, if you train a certain way, you're going to fight that way in real life. I want this gun where I can see it at all times, which means if I do this drill 5-10-15 versus 15-10-5, That means I'm going to shoot, and then I'm going to turn. My instructor and fellow students are down there, and I'm going to be running in their direction with a gun. But when you train at certain places like handgun combatives, for example, not only is that expected, it's acceptable, because you have been trained on how to properly manage that firearm. And Dave Spalding tells you, once you guys prove to me that I can trust you, we run a hot range. All day long, he runs a hot range, because his students are some of the best that I've ever trained with. Hands down, guys, some of the best people I've ever trained with in this industry are handgun combatives. Not only is it Dave Spalding and his people, but also the students that attend handgun combatives, because the nature of his training is so austere and so focused that it tends to weed out the yahoos by default. So once again, moving with a gun needs to be a natural motion. It needs to be natural, meaning that you need to be able to actually run with the gun, but you have to be in a position where you have total control of that firearm and a very high level of discipline over the trigger finger. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.